Did you just buy a new 2026 Sea-Doo RXTX 325 and you're trying to figure out all the settings, how the break-in works, or what all these buttons actually do? Or maybe you've had one for a few weeks and you're still discovering new features every time you ride. If that's you, this video is for you. I've had multiple viewers leave comments requesting this exact video. So today, I'm going to walk you through everything I wish someone had told me when I picked up my 2026 Sea-Doo 325. I bought mine back in February, and I already have over 25 hours on it this season. This is also my second Sea-Doo, so I've spent quite a bit of time learning what works, what doesn't, and some of the things that completely caught me off guard during ownership. In this video, we're going to cover the break-in process, the required 10-hour oil change, the 10.25-inch touchscreen, navigation setup, Bluetooth, steering and handlebar adjustments, sport mode, trim, fuel consumption, speed limiters, accessories I recommend, and several things that I wish someone would have explained to me on day one. By the end of this video, you'll have a much better understanding of how to get the most out of your new Sea-Doo. Let's start with the break-in process, because that's usually the very first thing every new owner wants to know about. Every time you start the ski during break-in, a message appears on the screen showing your current break-in percentage. It's actually pretty nice because you always know exactly where you stand. On my ski, the break-in period ended at exactly 3 engine hours. Not around 3, exactly 3. One thing I found really interesting is that the ski doesn't simply have one speed limit during break-in. It almost feels like there are multiple stages. You'll accelerate and hit a speed limit. If you let off the throttle for a second and then get back into it, it'll push through that limit and accelerate to another one. It's almost like unlocking different levels in a video game. I noticed the performance gradually improving throughout the break-in. Honestly, it was pretty fun watching the ski progressively unlock more performance as the break-in percentage increased. I would also recommend staying out of sport mode during the break-in period, especially during that first hour. Let everything seat in properly before you start pushing the ski hard. Once the break-in period is complete, the ski will be performing at its full potential. The next thing every owner needs to know about is the required 10-hour oil change. Do not skip this service. When an engine is brand new, tiny metal particles naturally make their way into the oil during the break-in process. That's completely normal. My first oil change cost right around $480 at the dealership. It's not cheap, but in my opinion, it's one of the most important maintenance items you'll ever do on the ski. Now let's move on to one of my favorite features on the ski, the new 10.25-inch touchscreen. When you first get your Sea-Doo, don't be surprised if the map screen looks mostly empty. A lot of owners expect a fully detailed map right away, but many times you'll only see a track line showing where you've been. There are 2 different ways to get the full navigation screen working. The first option is using the BRP app. You simply connect your phone, open the BRP app, and the map should begin appearing on your display. One important thing I learned the hard way is that you must use a USB data cable. A charging-only cable will not work. The cable that came with my phone was way too long, and I eventually bought a shorter USB data cable that's the perfect size. It's inexpensive, works great, and makes the setup much cleaner. By the way, YouTube recently approved me for their new shopping feature. Throughout this video, you'll occasionally see products appear on your screen featuring the exact gear I use and recommend. Also, you will see an information button pop up right here in the corner of your screen. Clicking that button will take you directly to my gear and accessories page, where I've organized all my favorite gear in one place with links included to the best prices I found. And as always, it's linked in the description. Now let's talk about my preferred navigation method. Instead of leaving my phone connected all the time, I download the maps directly onto the Sea-Doo. Go into Settings, select Wi-Fi, connect to your home network, and then download the maps for your state. I highly recommend doing this at home where you have a stronger Wi-Fi signal. Once downloaded, the maps work great and you don't have to keep your phone plugged in every time you ride. You do lose BRP app features like friend tracking and points of interest, but for most of my riding, this is the method I prefer. Once your maps are set up, you'll probably want to connect your phone through Bluetooth. The system works well overall, although I will admit it takes a little longer than I'd like to reconnect when starting the ski. In the settings menu, select Bluetooth and click Add New. Once connected, it works great. Now let's talk about the factory stereo. At idle speeds and while cruising slowly, it sounds perfectly fine. But once you get above about 50 miles per hour, you'll quickly understand why so many owners upgrade their audio systems. I have a full video comparing all the major stereo upgrade options available for the 2026 Sea-Doo, so if audio is important to you, definitely check that out. Use these buttons to control navigation, trim adjustment, sport mode activation, and launch control. This button pulls up the menu options. And this button brings up sport mode, and if you press it again, it brings up launch control. The right handlebar controls cruise control and volume adjustment. Once you've ridden a few times, these controls become second nature. Another feature many owners don't realize they have is the adjustable steering damper. This lets you change the sensitivity of the steering while riding. Personally, I run mine in the medium setting. I think it's the best balance between responsiveness and stability. I would recommend experimenting with all the settings and finding what works best for your riding style. The handlebars are also adjustable. You can actually raise or lower the handlebars to better fit your riding position. This only takes a few minutes to adjust and can make a noticeable difference in comfort, especially on longer rides. Everybody rides a little differently, so don't be afraid to customize these settings and make the ski fit you. For most new owners, I recommend starting in normal mode. The ski is still incredibly fast, but the throttle response is much smoother and easier to manage. Sport mode wakes the ski up considerably. To activate sport mode, press the sport button and then hold the up button on the left toggle switch to confirm. Even if you install a SCOM later, the ski will always restart in normal mode. Personally, I spend most of my time riding in sport mode. I rarely use eco mode, but if you're trying to maximize fuel economy, it can definitely help. Let's talk about trim. You generally want to start with the trim lower and slowly increase it as your speed increases. As the trim comes up, the ski levels out and becomes faster and more efficient. Launch control can either be enabled for a single launch or turned on permanently. It helps automate some of those trim adjustments for maximum acceleration. Now let's talk about fuel, because this thing can absolutely burn some gas. The 325 requires premium non-ethanol fuel and has an 18-gallon fuel tank. If you're riding aggressively in sport mode, doing hard acceleration runs, and making top speed passes, don't expect amazing fuel economy. I've personally burned an entire tank of fuel in under 2 hours. That's simply the reality of a 325 horsepower supercharged machine. Another thing I've noticed is a significant speed difference between a full tank and a nearly empty tank. On my ski, I typically see about a 3 to 4 mile per hour difference. If you're trying to set a personal top speed record, don't be surprised if the ski runs noticeably faster with the less fuel on board. Before we move on, if you're finding this video helpful, make sure you're subscribed. I post videos on Sea-Doo upgrades, accessories, maintenance tips, riding videos, and wake reviews throughout the season. Alright, let's talk about the factory speed limiter and how I gained another 10 miles per hour. Once break-in is complete, you'll probably want to know how fast it will go. From the factory, Sea-Doo limits the ski to 68 miles per hour in the United States. You'll hit that speed consistently, even in less than perfect conditions. When you reach that limit, it honestly feels like the system is applying the brakes to keep you from going any faster. I installed a SCOM immediately after break-in, and it increased my top speed by exactly 10 miles per hour, bringing my ski from 68 to 78 miles per hour. There are additional modifications available if you're chasing even more speed, but I wanted to maintain my 5-year warranty coverage. Protecting your Gulfstream Blue. The Gulfstream Blue color is my favorite Sea-Doo color ever made. I worked hard to keep mine looking new. Before your first ride, I highly recommend applying a quality marine wax. That extra protection makes a huge difference. After every ride, I use boat juice. It makes cleanup incredibly easy and helps keep the ski looking great. If you're interested, that product should be popping up on your screen right now. I also recommend dock bumpers, quality tie-off ropes, and a small anchor. Most scratches happen at docks, especially when you're riding by yourself and trying to secure the ski. I scratched my previous Sea-Doo several times. One thing that surprised me is that the ski didn't come with a boarding ladder. Some dealers install them before delivery, but many don't. My dealer wanted nearly $500 to install one. I purchased the OEM Sea-Doo ladder online for about half that amount and installed it myself in roughly 10 minutes. It's one of the best upgrades I've added. I also have that product linked to my store. One thing that completely caught me off guard happened during some high-speed testing. At speeds above 70 miles per hour, I had a few situations where brake-related warning messages appeared, and the braking system completely stopped responding. The first time it happened, I honestly thought I had broken the ski. Fortunately, every single time, I simply shut the ski off, restarted it, and everything returned to normal. I wanted to mention it because it definitely scared me the first time it happened. If you're brand new to jet skis, there are a few things you need to understand. Things like how steering only works when the throttle is engaged, and how the brakes work by redirecting the water. I explain all of this thoroughly in my jet ski beginner's guides. I have a full playlist for the jet ski beginners that I'll link below in the description. Make sure you have all required registration paperwork, life jackets, and safety equipment required in your state. I also cover all of that in my jet ski beginner's guide in much greater detail. There are plenty of additional accessories available depending on how you use your ski. Some of my favorites include the WinQ cooler, action camera mounts, portable jump starters, and the stereo upgrade. If you want to see everything I personally use, check out my top 10 accessories video and my full gear page link below. If you recently purchased a 2026 Sea-Doo RXTX 325, congratulations! It's an incredible machine, and I hope this video helps shorten the learning curve. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I read and respond to every comment personally. If this video helped you learn something about your new Sea-Doo, I'd appreciate you hitting the subscribe button. I already have a lot more videos on upgrades, accessories, maintenance, lake reviews, and real-world ownership of the 2026 Sea-Doo RXTX 325 on my channel. Stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next one.